All right, y'all, we're going to take a look at this boudoir photography business today. Going to take a look at its high intent Google searches that boudoir buyers are searching. See if it has BSS and see if we're meeting the GBC recommended minimum of hitting 3 out of 10 page one Google slots. And we're back here in the GBC universe where we're taking declining boudoir photographers to the #1 boudoir photographer in their city. As always, our North Star here is FSIC, full spectrum intent capture. More on that pinned post, home video, pinned video, somewhere around here. And that's because FSIC explains why all boudoir photographers either rise or fall. So we got our FSIC graph here in white. Highest intent peeps on the left. These are peeps searching for both boudoir photo shoot in their city today. I focus on them and make videos about actually getting them to come to us. Here, videos about BSS. Over on the right, there's the lowest intent peeps. We talk about getting these peeps to come to us on our sister brand or sister channel, Boudoir FB Ad Doctor, where we talk about BLCS. And currently over there, we only work with boudoir photographers running more than 10 grand per month in boudoir Facebook ads. So BSS, boudoir search sameness. That's when a boudoir photographer has either 0 or 1 slots on page 1 of Google. Both are bad. 0, extra bad. If we got 0 slots page 1, that means we're page 2 or deeper. And we know approximately 80% of Google searches never even hit page 2. So if we end on page 1, we're visible to approximately 80% of searchers, approximately 80% of buyers, approximately 80% of the market, so the bulk of the market. Bad, extra bad. Also, 1 slot page 1, that ain't good enough anymore. That's bad as well, because guess what? There's 9 other organic slots page 1. Probably going to be 9 other boudoir photographers there, so everyone's got 1 slot. We're looking the same as everyone else. Not standing out, not looking special. So boudoir buyer, what they're going to do is they're just going to click down, open everyone's website, opens everyone's website up and literally get a quote, fill out everyone's contact form, get a quote from everyone, price shop, price compare, negotiate, waste everyone's time, blah, blah, blah. And, only 10% of the time we're going to get that person to buy from us. So that other 90% of the time we're wasting it. And 0-1 slots on page 1 Google is actually not normal. It's not normal to have such a small few number of page 1 links on Google search. But it is accepted and it is, commonplace, but it's not normal. It's actually a symptom of 2 deeper root causes. And I know this is normal because I went from 0 out of 10 slots, page 1 on Google search, to 9 out of 10 slots, page 1 on Google search in only 10 days utilizing this new methodology we developed. Now, these 2 deeper root causes here are 1, market saturation, 2, the false belief of page 1 equality. Market saturation, basically everyone knows about that. Over time, people get kind of new devices, new gear, new iPhone, new camera, and eventually people throw up their Google My Business profile, so then they now shoot boudoir, or they throw up their website saying they now are a boudoir photographer, or they're posting them on Facebook groups that they now offer boudoir photo shoots. So it's more boudoir photographers competing for the same number of buyers makes it harder for every single boudoir photographer. Now, the false belief of page 1 equality, this is new to most people. Very, very, it used to be very common to accept this, very common to accept that, every boudoir photographer is, gets 0-1 slots page 1 on Google, and either you get it or you don't, and it's not much you can do about it. And even if you had 1 slot on page 1 on Google, well, maybe there's some market saturation and that slot, that slot goes away, or, then you go down to page 2. Well, you got to kind of hope those people leave the market and then hope Google puts you back on page 1. So it's kind of like a learned helplessness belief, but it's not true. We've learned it's not true because, again, I went from 0 out of 10 slots page 1 Google search to 9 out of 10 slots page 1 on Google search in only 10 days. So we know the false belief page 1 equality. Now we know that it is exactly that, a false belief. We also know that boudoir photographer with BSS is a disappearing boudoir photographer, DBP. And yeah, dude, if we're on page 2 or deeper, we're invisible to approximately 80% of the marketplace. If we're on page, and if we're on page 1, everyone else has got 1 slot on, all the other 9 competitors got 1 slot as well. So we're essentially invisible as well. So if we're on page 2 or deeper, we're dying fast. If we're on page 1 with 1 slot, we're dying slow. In both cases, we're disappearing boudoir photographer, which actually is kind of like the warning light, the red flag, the canary in the coal mine that tells us our boudoir photography business itself is actually on the path to disappearing. It's now starting down that path. Thankfully, we have discovered a solution though. We've discovered that BSS is treated with social search saturation, aka S-cubed methodology. And it works exactly as it says. You know, we saturate social search with the highest intent boudoir buyer keywords, making sure that we show up there. And what this acts like is basically like the snow at the top of the Andes Mountains, the eastern side, the backside of these Andes Mountains down in South America. The snow up there, what it does is it, all year it's melting into streams, melting, the streams, small streams, flow into small rivers, but it all eventually comes to be collected in the Amazon River. That's where all the water actually comes from. And that page one in Google search is the Amazon River, but we got to first stuff, you know, SQ methodology. We got to first saturate, do social search saturation, put the snow up there at the top of the mountain, so then all those videos, links can flow into page one in Google search. And this is the only solution I've seen for boudoir photographers that can actually enable them to grow during periods where the market's getting more and more saturated every day, and give them that opportunity in a relatively quick time frame. The only other solution I've seen a lot of people to do that is having a large, well-known brand, but that takes on average, 5 to 10 years. We ain't got 5 to 10 years anymore, dude. AI is here. We need results. We need a opportunity ASAP. And actually, interestingly enough, S-cube methodology, by my estimates, can actually help those actually build a large, well-known brand approximately 8x faster than all these other kind of standard ways of doing it, just because we're doing more volume on more surfaces and showing up in the right places way more often over time. Kind of like a double bonus of utilizing S-cube methodology. So example now. All right, so we are right now going to, let's say, we're going to Boise, Idaho. And there are 1 million boudoir photographers in Boise, Idaho. We're one of them. Everyone's got a website saying they do boudoir photography. And as a result, everyone's website's trying to rank page one on Google as much as possible, ultra competitive. We're like, man, we ain't got no large, well-known brand. Literally the only thing left that allows us to compete effectively is S-cubed methodology. So we decided to crank it to the max, like way more than a average boudoir photographer would. And let's say we're taking up the first, 300 slots of social search across all the social platforms, and then that flows onto Google search. And let's say we're taking up the first 300 organic slots on Google. Well, it's 10 organic slots, per page on Google. So we're literally taking basically the first 30 pages of Google. So whenever a boudoir buyer searches for us anywhere digitally, we basically got like the first 300 slots to ourselves. So we are, basically like, we're basically the only one they can find, whether they're searching social media, they're searching Google, basically the only one they can find. So in this case, they'd have to, scroll to slot 301, or would that be on Google page 31 to find us? And so in this case, whose business is growing? Whose boudoir photography business is growing? Most likely only ours, because we're basically the only one that can be found by buyers. And whose boudoir photography businesses are dying, disappearing, going invisible? Well, most likely the other 999,999 boudoir photographers competing against us in Boise, Idaho. And so this is, kind of an ultra example of what S-cube methodology, kind of the opportunity it could give to a boudoir photography business, but this is like an ultra extreme version, ultra extreme example version. Now, once treated with S-cube methodology, we have page one visibility. So yeah, we're getting more links page one Google search. And the second initial benefit we're getting is every new link we get on page one Google search, good for us. And we're actually kicking a competing boudoir photographer off page one, effectively making them invisible. This is awesome. So we can literally control how many of our competitors are on page one of Google search are not organic by our effort in acquiring these organic Google slots. And it's good because these slots have some momentum, not infinite momentum, but they do have some momentum. Unlike Google PPC ads or any ads, that momentum goes to zero the instant you stop paying for them. And let's see. Yeah, so a lot of boudoir photographers like this, they're able to kick their competitors off. And page one visibility activates boudoir search visibility for us, BSV. This is where the GBC universe recommends hitting a minimum or having a minimum of 3 out of 10 slots page 1 Google search as the minimum. More is obviously better. But that's because basically every other boudoir photographer is going to have one slot each on page 1. So if we got 3, we're dominating. Everyone else has got 1. We're actually standing out, actually looking unique. And the super rare train, someone has 2. Well, we still got 3, so we're dominating them as well. So we're basically kind of dominating in all scenarios here. We also know that boudoir photographer with BSV is a visible boudoir photographer, a VBP. So it's our micro universe here. A disappearing boudoir photographer with BSS boudoir search sameness is caused by the dual horns of market saturation and the false belief of page 1 equality. Thankfully, we now have a solution. Thank the universe. SQ methodology. We use that to achieve page 1 visibility, become a visible boudoir photographer, and have boudoir search visibility. All right, so now my results utilize an SQ methodology. So I actually wanted to rank for this keyword, well, I want to dominate page 1 for this keyword, BLCS boudoir. So I went to work purely utilizing SQ methodology. And see my results. We're going down the organic slots. So organic slot 1, Instagram, me. Slot 2, me. Slot 3, me. Slot 4, me. Slot 5, me. Slot 6, me. Slot 7, me. Slot 8, me. Slot 10, me. And so I went from 0 to 10 slots, Google page 1, to 9 out of 10 slots, Google page 1 search in only 10 days, purely utilizing SQ'd methodology. Now into the main event here. Going to see this boudoir photography business, see how the search is looking for the local and city search. Actually, they're both in this case. So if we got BSS, yes or no. So if we're in the GBC recommended minimum 3 out of 10 slots page 1 on Google, or let's hit it, Bellingham, Washington. All right, so let's see what we got. Let's see. All right, so we do got one. Boom, we got one. All right, we got one. So we got 1 out of 10. And city's always the hardest one to rank for. So we got 1 out of 10, that's good. But we got BSS, we got boudoir search sameness. We also got, we're not hitting the GBC recommended amount, 3 out of 10 page 1 slots on Google. So if you're a disappearing boudoir photographer, meaning, you went and you've done your local search, your city search for the highest intent boudoir buyer keywords, you noticed you either had BSS, so you have BSS for, either one or both of those searches, or you are, you're not reaching the GBC recommended minimum 3 out of 10 slots, page 1 on Google for, again, either 1 or 2 of those slots. And you've accepted that the false belief of page 1 equality is exactly that, a false belief. And you've actually seen Google will actually give us as many page 1 slots as we want to put in the effort to acquire. So you're saying, okay, now SQ methodology makes sense. And you're seeing that this is the only path forward for yourself. And you've actually been waiting for something like this. And you're liking the initial benefits more, page 1 links on Google. You're liking the second initial benefit, which is actually like second a little bit more, which is be able to kick your competitors off of Google, make them invisible, page 2 and deeper. And you understand the market saturation. Yeah, more, new gear eventually over time. More people hop on to become boudoir photographers, so it gets harder and harder over time. But you're looking ahead and you're like, man, AI is currently taking people's jobs. And last time people lost jobs, COVID, a new flood of boudoir photographers came in because everyone's got a smartphone with a great camera. So it's easy to start saying shoot boudoir down now, offer it cheaply, kill margins for everyone. I'll later compete boudoir photographers, kind of just annoy, basically like take up slots page 1 on Google. And so you're seeing, okay, you're seeing more and more people are going to be entering the marketplace above and beyond the people getting new gear, forced to because of losing their job due to AI. So you're like, okay, we need to actually fortify our slots on page 1 and actually have so many backup links that Google wants to rank us on page 1. But since there's only 10 slots, literally, it cannot rank us anymore. But those backup slots will literally be like preventing current competitors from ever ranking on page 1 or any future competitors from ranking on page 1. Kind of like fortifying the levees down in Nolens, Louisiana, because that city is below sea level, fortifying against the ocean. So you're seeing, okay, you got to fortify, and you're like, oh, SQ methodology will give me that future benefit as well. That's the exact perfect tool to use to achieve that goal. And you want, you want to achieve page one visibility. You want to become a visible boudoir photographer with boudoir search visibility, because you need these things in order to become the #1 boudoir photographer in your city. And you're also looking ahead to the future and the future benefits that we haven't talked about yet of utilizing SQ methodology, which is, we're kind of building these invisible thematic keyword columns attached to our brand, our website name, our business name, our name, kind of out there on the internet. And it's kind of like, columns to the, Parthenon, Athens, Greece, or, the spokes into our hub, like them in, the center of a bike tire. Our business name's the hub. So we've got all of these columns plugged into us. And what this is like building AI mindshare for those keywords: age, relevance, frequency, authority, repetition. So we're building AI mindshare for these keywords, and every day we successfully do this, which is exactly what SQ methodology does, we are increasing the probability we'll be recommended here in the most premium placement AI overview up at the top of Google search, which we cannot pay for with ads to get. And so you're seeing that benefit, you're liking that feature benefit. You're also understanding that, well, if it's helping with that, it will also increase probability of every single day of being recommended on AI search. ChatGPT search, Claude, Perplexity, Microsoft Copilot, Google Gemini. You're recognizing the more kind of invisible thematic keyword columns you plug into your brand, the higher and higher probability every single day recommended to searchers on those platforms. And yeah, Google still owns approximately 90% of global search, but dude, AI search is growing every single day, and Google's kind of slowly decaying every single day. Standard Google search. So you're recognizing that you want these benefits, and you're also recognizing, since my current plan is to only work with one boudoir photographer per city, you can actually box out your competitors from ever using this strategy, get all the benefits against them, the immediate benefits, the 3 future benefits, and the 4th one would be, grown actually a known brand, approximately 8x faster than conventional methods. And you would, you're recognizing you could actually put massive distance between yourself and any of your current competitors or any future competitors, where basically you get so far ahead, there's like literally basically no chance for them to catch up. And as a result, when you actually want to, since you decide to be first mover on this, because you understand if a competing boudoir photographer hops on this first, then you'd be locked out. You'd be getting kicked off page 1 of all the highest intent Google searches. They'll get to page 2 and deeper, where approximately 80% of the market will never ever see you because they're page 1 and done searches. And we would actually be making up massive progress against you, boxing you out from ever getting on page 1. And me and your competitor would be building up massive momentum and invisible thematic keyword column back-end AI mindshare, kind of invisibly, with the AI search recommenders. And I remember last time I did AI search for boudoir photographers in a city with ChatGPT, and it recommended me 3. And I actually went and did manual search Google and Facebook, simply to see how many are actually out there. Dude, there's like 60. So you're seeing, yeah, we definitely gotta find some way to get on these AI searches. And you actually want, you're saying that if a competitor is making all this momentum, then making all this progress, and you're frozen out, you'd actually have to rederive SQ methodology yourself, or drive it for the first time. You would never actually trust that you've derived it 100% correctly, but then you'd have to execute same amount as us every single day. And if you did all that, you'd simply be maintaining the gap between your competitor and me and you. So you'd have to actually double or triple our effort, our output every single day. And then if you were to do that, then you could steal back some of the AI mindshare momentum from us, get some links, but you would never feel 100% confident you've even derived the strategy correct in the first place. So you'd probably not even feel confident putting in the time to do all that. Out execute us 2 to 3x every single day. And plus, who's got 80 hours a day to do that? So you decide to screw that. You decide to be the first mover in your city, block out all your competitors from using this strategy. And if that's you, shoot me a DM. The hospital is currently closed for new patients, but when I do open the hospital up for new patients, shoot us a DM. and we'll see if you qualify to use our S cubed methodology.